The Lifeguards of Southern California protect over 400 miles of coastline.
It's just really us versus nature.
And nothing impacts their day like the weather.
As lifeguards, the weather dictates the type of day that you're going to have.
Shark sighting, clear the water.
I need medics to keep me stock and other units.
On these beaches, lifeguards are the first responders.
1, 2, I got 3. When you get this many people coming to the beach, things are going to happen.
Hey, you all right, buddy? You there?
They are there to save you.
He told me to grab the buoy. He was literally right there.
They are there to lifeguard. This is Pacific Beach, California. Located just south of La Jolla, this 2-mile stretch of sand enjoys an average summer temperature of 88 degrees. Currently, the waves are small, but a southern swell is about to strike. Over 6,000 miles away, a storm has been brewing for several days.
In our summer, waves come to us from big storms down by New Zealand, Australia. So weather in the South Pacific a week ago is determining what we see in our ocean waves today.
Today, Lifeguard Sergeant Ben Lewis is supervising at Pacific Beach.
Beautiful sunny Sunday afternoon with quite a significant beach crowd, and we were actively making some mornings. The rip current was flaring up pretty good.
Lifeguard Sean Dale is on patrol near Tower 24 when a beachgoer approaches his vehicle.
A gentleman came running up saying that there was someone in distress. He thought that he saw one of the individuals in the group get hit by a wave and not come back up again.
Sean Dale relayed the information that he received to me by radio, and once I arrived on scene, I assumed the role of incident commander.
21 Sam, dispatch.
Go 21 Sam.
We're getting a report of a possible missing swimmer in the water.
It's been 2 minutes since the witness saw the man submerge. Lifeguard Sean Dale and a nearby guard quickly enter the water to search for the victim. Meanwhile, Sergeant Ben Lewis requests backup.
Can you send a surf boat to PD at Tower 23? I'm just pulling on scene now to interview the DRP.
1 mile south, Lifeguard Sergeant Rick Strobel reacts to the call.
Now we're responding to a report of a missing swimmer that was last seen in the water. Another sergeant is with the reporting party right now, gathering further information.
Dispatch from IC. It's a young male with dark hair, a white male. We're going to continue moving forward with Codex response here.
A Code X, it's a submersion.
A Code X signifies the highest level rescue call on the beach. A drowning.
Our most dreadful call is a drowning, particularly to the lifeguards who are on observation at that moment.
Once again, all swimmers and boogie boarders, come out of the water. Exit the water this time.
If somebody's submerged, brain damage sets in 4 to 6 minutes, to be blunt. Time is of the essence. We want to be able to find this person as quickly as possible to give them the best chance for survival.
Sam, that's me firm. If you have got 2 in the water, we'd like it to respond.
Lifeguard Shiloh Spangler arrives by PWC and is one of the first guards on the scene.
There was 2 other guards in the water when I first got there. It was in a rip current area, so it was really murky.
4-foot swells and 8-knot wind creates poor visibility. To find the victim, they'll have to put as many lifeguards in the water as possible.
Is there a unit from La Jolla coming as well?
3 Sam with 2 dive team members, 4 in total.
Grant, you run this team. All right, you're the line leader. You'll need a line. We got 2 teams of 4. Excellent.
I'd like to request air support from San Diego Fire, and they can respond and come up on Lifeguard Dispatch 2.
We had medics responding. We had police responding, and we had a fire rescue helicopter. So it's very important for all those different resources to have a point of contact, which is the incident commander, Sergeant Lewis.
With the rising swells and churning current, the clock is running out for any chance of survival. Sergeant Lewis can only hope the response is not too late.
That is the worst thing that can happen to a lifeguard, is that somebody drowns on their watch.
Meanwhile, 4 miles to the north near La Jolla Cove, the waves are pounding at Boomer Beach. When the swell comes out of the south, it's a hot spot for body surfers. Located at the western edge of La Jolla Park, Boomer Beach draws a lot of tourists, but not all of them are aware of how unpredictable the ocean can be here. Lifeguards do not have a tower on Boomer Beach, but keep a watchful eye when the swell is large.
In the summertime, a lot of sand gets pushed up onto Boomer Beach, and it becomes a nice looking beach for people to go down and go swimming. But it's not a beach for just anyone to go swimming. Surf can get really big there and treacherous if you don't know what you're doing.
Code 3 North Boomer, 111.59, 32 Code 3 Boomer. Copy, we got a second guard route.
I just started running because I knew that that rip was about ready to start pulling.
It went over the radio that they needed more lifeguards, Code 3. I responded on the radio letting them know that I would be entering the water as well.
Lifeguard Guerrero makes his way into the massive rip current.
It was like a flowing river at the time. So luckily I got sucked out really quickly, especially with my fins. I was able to gauge where my coworker was, judging by the red buoy, and I saw that, so I knew to swim right to him.
When I got there, their eyes were just so, they were like relieved that there was someone there to get them and save them because it was that intense. I always take the buoy and get a little distance between myself and the victim because I don't want them to grab onto me and like start pulling me down. So I hand them the buoy and I tell them to calm down.
By the time I saw them, he was hooked up with the two of them. The two of us started kicking in the two separate victims. We were trying to use the water to push us in, but it is a dangerous spot. There's large rocks to your left, a strong current to your right, so you gotta time it just right so that not to end up on the rocks, but also not to get recycled into the rip current.
Rotkins and Guerrero attempt to swim the victims to shore, but the rip is too strong, and they make no forward progress.
I took the 16-year-old kid, and we both tried making it in, and there was a big set that came in. I told the kid, well, we're gonna try to make it in, listen to my verbal commands, which was, we're going under this wave, hold your breath, and 3, 2, 1, and I'd like duck dive him down like a surfboard and go under the wave and hold the buoy out here and him between me so I wouldn't lose him. After that set, I ended up making an executive decision to just go out to sea with him.
My victim continuously was letting go, so I would grab his wrist and hold his wrist onto the can. We both stayed together, holding onto the can and slowly making our way in.
Lifeguard Jacob Magnus is patrolling La Jolla on Jet 3 when he hears the call.
I was already on the jet ski for routine operations because we had large surf and we had large crowds. When I got on scene, I got up close enough to talk to him, and the guard said that the rip current was pulling too hard, and if he asked if he could put his victim on the sled.
I see you got Jet 3 with one guard making his way to the beach.
Once we started getting pushed to the inside, I was just making sure that he didn't let go so that he wouldn't get recycled and I wouldn't get recycled. And it took us quite some time, slowly making our way in.
Unable to get close enough to Boomer Beach, Jet 3 heads around the point to La Jolla Cove.
We got on, hooked up, took us in to the sanctuary safe zone, and called it a day. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I tried to go out and get my buddy that he couldn't swim. He just kept getting dragged out by the tide. So I went out just trying to keep his head above water, and then the tide just drug us both out, and then the lifeguards had to come in and give us a hand.
All of a sudden, I just got sucked in by some strange current that more waves came by and it kept sucking me back in.
He was trying to swim back. I'm just telling him, no.
But wait, don't waste your energy.
Don't waste your energy. You're not going to make it back. I already saw a lifeguard running down the hill because he obviously saw us. They're very vigilant.
One word, lifeguard. If they weren't here, we'd all be doomed.
We would just be floating out in the open water right now.
If there was no lifeguard there, I guarantee those two would have drowned. It definitely felt good to go out there and get them, you know. It was a good experience altogether.
At Pacific Beach, reports of a drowned swimmer have lifeguards out in full force.
Dispatch from IC. It's a young male with dark hair, a white male. We're going to continue moving forward with Kodak's response here.
Firefighters and paramedics continue to respond, while dive crews mobilize to search the water.
If somebody's submerged, brain damage sets in 4 to 6 minutes, to be blunt. Time is of the essence. We want to be able to find this person as quickly as possible to give them the best chance for survival.
Missing persons are not unusual on the beach. People go missing on the boardwalk, on the beach, and in the park. But it's when they go missing in the water that it becomes of great concern to us. So we do have a policy in place. What we're really concerned about are people that are in an area with known rip currents, maybe seen struggling, another person loses sight of them for less than 5 minutes and looks back and the person's missing. Those are the criteria for us that will move the call into what we call a codex. Mask and snorkels, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4 of you mask and snorkel. Sean, you're gonna be line leader, get a line, okay?
Making matters worse, a fast rising swell is speeding up the current and clouding the water.
Once you guys get out past like the intermediate waves, there's pretty good visibility, and we actually just fin like on the surface because you can see the bottom. So if you do have snorkels, they are worth it.
As more guards arrive, Sergeant Rick Strobel begins to implement a search strategy designed to quickly cover as much area as possible.
Rich, here we go.
Yeah, that's great. Get somebody, anybody. And if there's anything else you can tie to that, just so it doesn't move.
I don't think it's gonna move. In a codex, what we try to do, first of all, is to put somebody in the water and go to the spot where the person was last seen. The next thing we do is we want to mark that area so we know where that area is so we can search around that. We call that a datum point. And then we start putting in our line search teams.
Are we ready? We have 3 defined teams. Okay, get into your area.
When somebody goes missing inside the surf, it's a real challenge to try to find them. There's a lot of currents, there's breaking waves. So what we utilize is a line search where we bring in lifeguards, put on masks and snorkels, fins, and they actively hold a line and they keep a distance where they can see each other, and then they sweep through an area trying to find the missing person.
As the second wave of personnel arrives on scene, Sergeant Strobel briefs them on their mission.
Obviously, if you find the person, raise your hand.
Lifeguards place 2 dive teams just beyond the breakers and deploy 3 line search teams directly into the surf. The PWCs supply transport for the guards working against the current, while rescue boats patrol outside the surf line. The helicopter above provides a bird's eye view.
We're just doing surface dives with a line, so 3 people on a line, 4 people on a line. On a line search, you want to make sure that you're covering as much ground as possible because you don't want to miss anything. Because today we are going with the current. We have a pretty strong north and south current today. So my job is basically to go down 4 feet. You have your snorkel and mask on, so I just go 1, 2, 3. We all dive down 4 feet, kick forwards for a count of 4, come back up, make sure everyone's good. 1, 2, 3, do it again. And then basically just do that for probably 150, 200 yards. Because theoretically, the body would have been floating with the current, and you just keep on doing the line searches for the golden hour. And after an hour, theoretically, it would turn into recovery mode.
After 6 minutes without oxygen, severe brain trauma occurs. A half hour into the call, tension on the beach begins to rise.
He's kind of widening the search area. That's what's making me edgy.
I wish they'd give us more information.
If he was tightening the search area, that would be better news.
Rick, do we have everybody accounted for? Line search, dive members?
Yeah, we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line search teams all went into the water. 4 dive team members went in on scuba.
Okay, excellent.
"40 different rescuers have joined the search, but under the waves, the rising swell is causing problems.
Visibility was pretty poor, especially in the head of the rip current, which is where the point last seen was. So based off of the visibility, we shortened up the line. So it got to the point where you're pretty much holding hands with the person next to you.
Got 3-foot surf. The visibility inside the surf line is not good. It's pretty turbid, and the current is moving from north to south quite a bit. So those are all factors that come into play that make finding a human body in the Pacific Ocean extremely challenging.
Once again, all swimmers and boogie boarders, come out of the water. Exit the water this time.
Lifeguards have been searching for nearly an hour. Even with all their resources, lifeguards are still unable to find the victim.
At this point, we don't have any missing person reports for anybody.
When you start these things, the tendency is to think that, well, it might not be, a codex, it might not be a submerged swimmer, but then you're thinking, what if it is? So we go at 100 miles an hour. We put all our resources out there.
The search hits the hour mark. There are no sightings in the water and no missing reports on land. Confident that this is a false alarm, Lewis calls off the search.
We've conducted a search for 1 hour based on witness testimony, a lack of report of a missing person. We're going to call this search at this time.
The information started to tell us that It wasn't a true codex, it wasn't a witness drowning, and it was most likely a non-call.
I see dispatch, we're going to be clear at Pacific Beach and command terminated.
It's actually a gratifying feeling seeing an incident being managed so well by our staff. Completely appropriate response on our part of the sergeants. This is a perfect scenario where a person actually is not missing after all, and everyone's going to get to go home safely tonight.
"80 miles to the north, the swell has begun to build. At Newport Beach, lifeguards are on high alert.
This entire south-facing beach is really picking up just about every swell that we have. We have a lot of really large rip currents that occur. So with that and really warm temperatures inland, it just makes for the perfect storm for us to be very busy. So we anticipate some good rescues later on, and then, some exciting stuff to happen probably later when the crowd starts showing up. And we do have some red flag conditions. Right now at the point, it's still yellow flag. It's not quite big enough to be red flag. And that's all judgment by the guards themselves, whether they put up a yellow or red. The yellow flag, you need to use caution. Red flag, stop. Stop and ask somebody why is it a red flag and what are the conditions out there.
On the far west end of the beach, lifeguard Tyler Randall makes his rounds in one of Newport's truck units.
5311 Tower 71 rescue, 2 victims.
5311 copy from 65. So we have a rescue here at Tower 71. Sounds like 2 victims. Our tower guard's already out.
2 children, a brother and a sister, have been sucked out by a rip current. One has been rescued, but the other is struggling to stay afloat.
There was 2 victims, approximately 40 yards from each other. Our tower guard had, in fact, grabbed the sister in the inside, and I proceeded to go for the victim on the outside.
Newport's boat crew hears the call and immediately speeds toward the location. As the tower guard swims the girl to shore, Randall searches for her struggling brother.
I had a general idea of where the victim was. I saw his head prior to entering the water. Went under a wave, popped up, lost him for a little bit.
Lifeguards are trained to embrace teamwork. Randall and the rescue boat arrive at the victim simultaneously.
I was on the boat. I see this guy just bobbing down, and then he just sinks under a wave, and then he came up.
Oh, yeah, right there.
I think it was his foot or a hand or something just kind of popped out of the water about 15 feet from me, and I swam towards him, and I grabbed him from underwater, and he had no strength to grab my buoy, so I just wrapped him around the chest and signaled for the boat to come back me up. The deckhand, Clay Rinker, threw me the buoy, so I passed him off to the deckhand. He pulled him up, and then I climbed up afterwards.
Hurry up, let's go.
Pull him up, he coughs up a bunch of water. He was going into shock, kind of fading in and out.
His respirations were extremely rapid. Wasn't in the greatest of conditions.
As lifeguards race Code 3 to the pier, the victim's symptoms worsen. Inhaling seawater draws fluid into the lungs and could be fatal.
The personnel around. Authority 110.
As the rescue boat arrives at the pier, the large swells make it difficult for lifeguards to back the boat in and transfer the patient to safety.
This is going to be real dicey, so once you commit, go. Don't hesitate at all.
That's a pretty sketchy situation, even in calm water, let alone with the swell we have.
We're going to put 2 guys on the boat, and we'll leave 2 guys here, and we'll just leapfrog them out.
It's just good communication between the crew on the deck, the crew on the boat, kind of coordinating when we're going to back in, and it's got to be quick and precise.
Okay, you 2 are going on? When he tells you go. Now. Go. Go. Okay, stand by. Get him set up, and then he'll hand them to us.
Dude, spin him around, give him head first to us.
If the transfer isn't timed perfectly, the boy could slip between the dock and the boat and be crushed.
My main concern, the deckhand's main concern at that point, is just initiating the handoff properly and making sure that they have control over the patient as well as us.
Yeah, he's taking the head, I'm taking the side. Go. Yep. Got it. We got him. Let's go all the way up with him.
How you doing? Okay. You have any trouble breathing? Hold on, he's aspirating.
The boy is not out of danger yet. He is still coughing up water. Medics turn him on his side to help relieve him.
All right, spit it all out, all right? didn't hit your head or anything, right? You were just in the water? Okay, so your neck or back don't hurt? Your lifeguard truck, we're gonna have a lifeguard truck, and we have the medics at the base.
At the base? Okay, you want to keep going then?
I got him.
All right, you got him.
Okay.
So you know who those guys were, remember who they were?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming through here right now.
You're all right, bud. Let's do, just get in the back. So
Let's do, you want feet in first, because then it'll be easier to turn if we have to.
Yeah.
The boy continues to vomit seawater. He's quickly loaded into the lifeguard truck and driven to a waiting ambulance.
All right, bud, you're doing really good, all right? Just worried about some of that water you swallowed, and that's why you're spitting up all that water and vomiting a little bit, okay? All right, we're going to take good care of you. We've got our paramedic band here. We're feeding it back, and we're going to run you up to the hospital. You're drowning. Lifeguards picked him out of the water. He has been vomiting. He's been conscious.
That type of situation on a day like today, as strong as the currents are, stuff happens extremely quick.
We do have a lot of non-experienced swimmers that come in down there. Once they get out that far, they struggle because they try to swim in and they realize that the current's going against them the whole way. Those are the ones that you look at and you say, you know, if I wasn't there, he most likely would have drowned.
It was a job well done, and I knew that once the transfer of care was made to the medics that he was in good hands.